Well, time for our Ag Weekly segment. Have you ever seen an American marten in the wild?
Well, if not, you may start to see them more frequently. A study has been done recently through the State Department of Environmental Conservation to determine the potential for recolonizing the Tug Hill region with the weaselly critters. The Adirondack Inventory Monitoring Network has been deploying cameras all over northern New York to monitor the martens and the effect they may have on the environment.
Is it just me? I didn't know that that's what they were called.
I didn't either.
In the 19th century, the species went locally extinct in New York outside of the Adirondacks due to being overhunted. Experts say it's important that they come back to the Tug Hill because they're part of the functioning ecosystem. The Tug Hill Commission is offering a webinar where expert Paul Jensen will discuss the topic on Tuesday, February 20th at 6 p.m. To register, refer to the information on your screen or visit our website. Bring them back. They're cute.
They are cute.